Hi everyone, welcome to 10 Minutes Astrology. Alejo, what are you doing? Are you doing
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 10 Minutes Astrology podcast.
Yeah, so Alejo, we have a matching color. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about aspect to ascendant. So maybe we should beginning with the I think a big part of our audience already know about what is ascendant. If you forget, go back to our YouTube channel, 10 Minutes Astrology. I think from the beginning of the season one, we have a few episodes about talking about ascendant. But so maybe let's talk about how we're going to interpret the planet aspect to ascendant, shall we?
Yeah. So there's an important difference between planets being aspected and angles being aspected.
Ah.
So angles are not planets, so they don't have the force, let's say, the strength that planets have. They have a different quality. And I
Mm-hmm.
would say that it is the planet that is aspecting the angle, that is changing the angle, that it's modifying the way that this angle gets expressed, and not the other way
Mm.
around. When you have two planets in aspects, both planets are modifying each other. So when you have, let's say, the moon aspecting Mars, in some ways you're nurturing your drives because Mars is that, but at the same time you're activating your sense of security because Mars is activating the moon, right? So
Mm.
both are modifying each other. When you have aspects to the angles, and not just the ascendant, but all of the angles, I would
Mm-hmm.
say it's the planet that is modifying the angle and not the other way around. So when you have a planet aspecting the ascendant, it means that the ascendant, which we said is how we approach the world, what people first see in us, is going to be modified. It's going to be colored by that planet. If it's a conjunction, it's very, very clear because you embody the planet. If it's an opposition, it means that this planet is asking you to do something very different to what your ascendant is doing, and probably you're going to meet that when you meet other people. In the people you meet, you're going to encounter this planet. And if it's let's say a square, it's probably going to present some kind of challenge to the way you want to
Mm.
start things, the way that people see you. And if it's a trine, it's probably going to give some kind of support. It's going to fuel this quest that your ascendant is doing.
Mm. Well, Alejo, I really like your very, very clear interpretation.
Thank you.
That is amazing, to be honest, because most beginner were very confused. What are you talking about? But when you explain it, it's because ascendant is not a planet. And so the planet will have an impact, will have a kind of influence toward to ascendant rather than ascendant have influence toward to a planet. So
Yes.
this is kind of much easier, to be honest. It's like, what do we say? Is in the before we all exam between the two planets. So they have influence toward to each other, like you use the example between Mars and Moon. And that is so clear. Well, if you try to remember, you can rewind back to listen what I'll say it again, okay? This is how good with video. But with Ascendant received the influence from the planet. And
Yes.
remember, Alejo give a very, very simple, clear about each aspect quality. And that is so cool. So Alejo, should we go to use an example today?
Let's go for an example.
That's cool. Yeah. So today we choose a interesting character. Not interesting, but I mean when
We
we
always
study
choose
astrology.
interesting characters. I mean,
Yeah, and
interesting.
when I study astrology, this lady is always there in our chat, especially we talk about relationship.
Yeah.
Well, this is the we so-called Princess Diana and or Lady Diana. Well, she's kind of a character, to be honest. Even today, when you look in the English royal family, no one can compare with her, to be honest.
It's
Well, I
true.
mean, It's true, and I have to say, she did it deliberately or not. She really brings something new into that intriguing old-fashioned family, and she totally changed it. So, Alejo, why you choose this chart?
So this chart has Uranus trining the ascendant. So the ascendant is at 18 degrees of Sagittarius and
Mm-hmm.
Uranus is at 23 degrees of Leo. So they are
Mm,
both in a trine. If we use a 5-degree orb, they're both trining each other.
mm.
Um, should I interpret or?
Or should I start it? Let me start it. Haven't tried this for a long time. So
Okay.
if I'm going to interpret this aspect, as Alejo say, so is planet has impact into the her ascendant, and the ascendant is more likely of like your presentation and
Exactly.
how you present to this world or you connect with this world. So it would be a very unique way and probably like an unusual way. So when she wants to be different with the people around her, with her surrounding, with her environment, she kind of stand out and be different, be very different in this part of her journey. Like Alejo, you mentioned about her quest,
Her
the
quest.
quest of the ascendant as a quest of the
Ah,
life
yes.
journey. Maybe you can go from here.
So with Sagittarius rising, we expect that she expects to bring, life is a journey, life is an adventure, and an adventure to find meaning and possibilities, right? So Uranus trying in this ascendant, it's like the adventure that she's up to breaks the mold. It's like she's Uranus is
Mm,
changing it. Uranus is modifying this adventure. So
mm,
Uranus is saying the adventure that you're for, the adventure that you are, the path that you're taking in order to find meaning, which is so important to you, will probably be a path that it's different from most people paths, and that because Uranus is in the eighth house also probably requires unraveling some kind of deep secrets and things that are usually hidden and are taboo, and kind of reshaping the way that we approach these taboo issues. So,
mm,
if you see Uranus in the eighth house, sometimes you might think, it's not so important because the eighth house is not the most important house, it's not an angular
mm,
house. But if you see
mm,
this trine in the ascendant, then this probably becomes a huge theme in her life. And also
mm,
how to be free, how to be free from, we would say, the value and importance that other people give me with the eighth house.
mm. When you talk about the listed aspect, I suddenly remember one thing that people always talk about her is that do when she was alive, and that was in '80s, and she is such important figure in the public figure in the '80s. And then what one thing she does, I have to say, really important, is she visits the hospital for those people can, uh, as with HIV. So for
Mhm.
that time they call it AIDS, and she hugged them. She hugged them. In 1980s, that is, oh my God, that is, how could you do that? Because people still have the kind of a stigma and the fear about touch the
Yeah.
people who get, who has HIV, who get HIV, and so that is kind of very brave, and she break that boundary, and that was like people always talk about her. She being very brave, and she understand that is not an issue when you give them a hug, and then she did it, and that is really ascendant with 18 degree of Sagittarius with this Uranus in 23 degree Leo to try each other. And that is kind of come from her nature. So Alejo, should we give another set of aspects as a practice for our audience?
Yes, let's say Saturn is conjunct the Ascendant.
You
How
have to
would
make
you
it so
read
different.
that? Yeah, I'm trying to think something very different. So
I think that is very useful because I think what I think is because we're talking about Uranus and suddenly you give a Saturn conjunct Ascendant, which is like, oh my god.
it's a Uranian thing to do because we're jumping to the other side, to the other age.
Exactly. So let me give you a little bit tips. So think about if you think Ascendant is you, your appearance or your connect with the world, like we're talking about Princess Diana. And Saturn, what does Saturn quality? Is Saturn really alive? Hey, hello everyone. Oh, Saturn is like, oh yeah, I have to take things seriously. So think about that have impact on people's image or they connect with the world. Okay. Thanks, Alejo. Today we
Thank
bring
you.
us the so clear about the aspect to Ascendant. So next week we will continue with aspect to the angle, but it's another important angle, Alejo. What we're going to talk about next week?
I don't know. Mid-heaven, Descendant.
Yeah, that's another one mid heaven. Yes.
Mid-heaven. Okay. I
Yeah, we're
didn't
going
know
to.
what we had agreed. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm just like I just like oh we talk about this and then, don't worry. Okay, thanks Alejo and thanks everyone for watching 10 minutes astrology. Next week we're going to talk about aspect to the mid heaven. Bye. See you next week.
Bye bye.